Welcome to the another Channel Play Leadership podcast, where we talk everything about retail experiences, merchandising, malls, execution, brand, Middle East, GCC, and variety of topics, but all centered around question of retail, brand positioning, and everything else around retail. Today, I have with me another interesting guest, Amrith Gopinath. Amrith, welcome to the Leadership Podcast by Channel Play.
Thanks,
Thank you for your
Abbas.
time. About Amrith, I know Amrith for almost 23 years now.
That's
We
correct.
met in
Three.
2003 for the first time in Hyderabad, where he was leading the
Adidas.
Adidas stores in Hyderabad. I think my first good sports shoe was that, thanks to the discount offered at that time. And from that to Amrit has been in the retail for what now 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Post your MBA, 10 years with Adidas, 5 years with Nokia, sometime with Philips in the
Yep.
start, and now the CMO for DLF
Yes.
for last 3 years. Amrit his love for sports is legendary. He's like badminton, pedal.
Squash.
You also did a show, no? Fitness show. What was that TV show?
Oh, that
reality
was a
show?
Devil Circuit.
The Devil
obstacle,
Circuit
yeah.
obstacle show,
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah,
And wrote a book called The Prodigal Sprinter,
that's correct.
which came out 2 years back, last year.
Last year, yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
So, Amrit, we're going to spend an hour with Amrit talking everything about retail. And Amrit is also very well positioned that he has worked both in GCC and India market.
That's correct.
So, we will talk also for the brands who wants to go from India to GCC or GCC brand looking at coming to India. So, conversations around both markets and how one should operate. So, Amrit, welcome to the podcast. And why don't you let everybody know about yourself a little bit and your experience and what you have done, and then we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Abbas. Super happy to be here, and I've been seeing your podcast episodes for the last couple of things, and thanks for inviting me over here. I've been waiting for that invite.
You made it.
It's finally happened.
You made it.
I've arrived in life. But yeah, thanks for the intro. I think you've covered most of what I would have said anyways about myself. We've been obviously close friends for over 2 decades across 2 countries, India and Dubai.
You
and
were there for my 40th.
Yeah, I was there for your 40th birthday. Less details, better. So from a career perspective, it's been, like you said, I've had the fortune of working with very, very strong brands in the retail industry. So like you said, my longest stint was with Adidas for over a decade. Then I was with Nokia at a time when mobile telephony was on its rise in India. And now I'm the marketing head for DLF Malls. And DLF is a big real estate developer in Delhi NCR and also soon expanding the rest of India. And we've got about 8 premium malls in Delhi NCR, and we're opening 3 more, in the next year or so, with our first mall outside of NCR in Goa. So that's something that we're excited about. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk to you about everything retail. Hopefully, I have some nuggets of experience to share that hopefully your listeners would find interesting.
How much is the area DLF malls operate? Like, you guys look at what, square feet,
Yeah,
meters?
million square feet. Yeah. So today we are at about 5 million square feet, and we are doubling this to close to 11 million square feet in the next 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how is this as an experience for you? Somebody who was a brand guy selling to now a malls marketing, and what is the role difference for you from an Adidas marketing head versus a malls marketing head?
A lot of people have asked me this question. I always like to say that the grass is always greener on the other side, and it's very rare that you actually get to sit on both sides of the fence. So I think from the Adidas perspective, you were always looking at malls as the landlord, people who will give you space because you had access to consumers, captive consumers. And a mall, at least in those days, I'm talking of when retail was still kind of developing, it was a very transactional kind of relationship. Malls were the landlords charging rent, and you kind of operated within that space, and you didn't really look at the malls for anything else. But I see that relationship has evolved over the last decade or so. Malls are becoming from transactions to more of partners in the whole brand process. Personally, for me, Adidas was obviously, and brands like Adidas, Nokia, these are global brands with very well-defined playbooks. You have Adidas signing on Manchester United, Real Madrid, and then you know what the playbook is, and that's how you're supposed to activate within a country. So you have broad frameworks of how to operate. In DLF, the good part is that there is complete freedom to define things the way you want to. Obviously, there is a legacy, but as a marketer, it's very good to be able to almost start from a blank canvas and say that how is it that my vision would translate to what the consumers see. I think with global brands, you get a lot of learning because there's so much of capability that's already been built, and you incrementally build on it. It's like a Lego set, in Adidas, the Lego is already built. You have a few blocks that you can place here and there, and you can kind of create your own design, but it's part of a much larger structure. In DLF, it's almost like the Lego pieces are all on the floor, and then you get to build it. So for me, that has been quite enriching over the last 3 years.
But from a KPI of a head of a brand versus a KPI of a marketing head of a mall, what changes for you on your deliverables?
Quite a lot, actually. I mean, brand, when you look at a brand like Adidas, we used to look at NPS, Net Promoter Score. You used to look at brand sentiment analysis. You used to look at how much of full price sell through that you sell. So if a season like a spring, summer, fall, winter, how much of it sells through completely in a season. You look at product level information. It's very granular, and you can get into extremely granular detail. In a mall, honestly, you are like a platform. I mean, the consumer doesn't buy you; they buy the brand, right? So in a way, you're not as let's say granular with the sales part of it, but then you look at things like footfalls, you look at dwell time in the mall, you look at the repeat kind of how many people are coming back to your malls, and then you look at the whole cross section of what you're offering to the consumer and which brands are doing well. So your canvas actually becomes very much broader. So I like to say at a brand level, you're maybe hovering at about 100 feet looking at the landscape. At a mall, you're probably hovering at about 1,000 feet, and you have a much broader this thing. So you're seeing how an Adidas, a Nike, a Reebok, all of these brands are in that particular zone are performing, which brands are not. How can you tweak that marketing mix to really drive up a particular category? So I think that the playing field becomes a little elevated when it comes to the malls.
Interesting. And now with the rise of e-commerce, right? So when we met first time in Hyderabad, we were not even the malls was not Shopper Stop and Lifestyle were the two.
Exactly.
And then Central was about to come.
Right, correct.
Right? Your first store near Panjagutta was a standard store on the road.
Correct. It was a high street.
High street, good store. Then we saw emergence of the malls and now big outlet mall. And then comes e-commerce.
Right.
So is when people say e-commerce will kill malls and you are going to double the mall space in the DLF, what's going on? How do you it's so you're not supposed to open more malls. The e-commerce is going to kill malls. So where are you? Which side? Of course, you are on the mall side, but what's your take on this? Is it a misunderstanding or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a misunderstanding. E-commerce is never going to kill malls. E-commerce for anything, I mean, it's not an either or. It's an and situation. So e-commerce has brought in amazing convenience. So what e-commerce solves for is the convenience bit of it, right? What malls solve for is the experience bit, the social interaction, and the whole undivided attention kind of bit, and that's always going to remain. So if you look at the industry as a wider retail portfolio, e-commerce is only going to add more consumerism to the whole pie, and malls will exist, and if not anything, malls and e-commerce will grow side by side. You said something like retail kind of is taking a hit or retail is dying. I think bad retail will die. Bad e-commerce will die. You will always see, even the e-commerce platforms, not everybody is thriving.
What is bad retail?
Bad retail is retail that doesn't evolve to the consumer likes and dislikes and the changing preferences. Bad retail is when you prioritize economics over the consumer experience. So I think you will see a lot of malls today in India which are either defunct or on their way out or not doing well, and then you will always have malls that are doing really well. So the whole difference lies in what is the value proposition that you're giving to the consumer, and how are you able to execute. I think execution is key. What experience you're able to give, how streamlined the operations are at the ground level. I think those are the key to good retail.
But how's the numbers looking when you look at footfall, you look at retail? Anything you can share from any industry number data set that retail is going well or not doing well? How's it looking?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. E-commerce obviously is growing in the, 50% plus, 100% plus. But in malls, retail or footfalls is growing in double digits for over the last thing. Post COVID, there's been the year after COVID was crazy because there was something called revenge shopping that happened. But even after that, it's kind of steadied at a low double digit to a high single digit kind of growth. So in my experience, with the growth of e-commerce, retail is also surviving at the same pace that it was. So I don't see that being a challenge.
And how is the physical retail changing? Do you see role of experience, discovery, community? Like, should malls be only judged by footfalls?
No, I think the days, like I said, in the earlier days when I was working with Addy and the consumer brands, mall was very transactional. The objective of a mall was to provide space, give you electricity and some facilities, and charge you rent. Today, malls have evolved or are going into what is called a partnership kind of model. So, what brands are so as a brand, as a mall developer, I would think when a brand comes into my mall. Apart from the hygiene stuff, what brands can I curate in and around them? What can I give the brand as a canvas to showcase their story? How can they do storytelling? Whether it's the atrium space, whether it's the signages within the mall. So I look at myself as a like media platform, because in a mall you have enough visual signages, you have space, so you allow the mall to do their storytelling. You allow brands to also showcase what they, in terms of the assets and their, they, like Adidas would get their players to the mall, and you would give them kind of like a canvas to do all of that. So I think malls have kind of progressed from that footfall thing to a very like a partnership based this thing. So we would look at things like launch plans. So when a mall comes in, how can I give them a platform to do a launch? Brands are also looking at malls and asking that, are you really going to help me grow my business? So yes, I've come into your mall and you've helped me launch, but over a period of 2 to 3 years, how are you helping me grow? And that's where today we sit with brands on a quarterly basis, share the mall marketing calendar, and ask the brands to share their brand marketing calendar and see where the synergies are. There are certain times when a Zara or an H&M is launching something and it coincides with a consumer movement that we are trying to highlight. And then we integrate the brands. So any campaign that a mall does is never done in isolation. It's always done with the brands that which are part of the ecosystem. Some brands, and category-wise also. So we look at beauty, fashion, F&B. So we may be curating a food festival, or we may be curating an athleisure festival, and then we integrate the brands. So we look at ourselves as a platform that can allow the brands to shout out their story louder.
When you say you help brand, and brand also have a conversation with you, how are you going to help me sell more? Right?
Yeah.
Eventually, I am paying a big rent. I want my ROI to come. Is there conversations also happens on that a revenue share of percentages? All of that is evolving more and more than just the rent part.
Yeah,
is it like now a normal norm, or some brands still say no, I want to just pay the rent?
It's case to case basis, but if I see a general trend, I think, like I said, if there is a partnership involved, then there is a skin of the game of both partners, right?
Correct.
So if the brand is saying that I want your space, the mall is saying I want you to perform well in my ecosystem, and hence there is let's say a shifting trend towards revenue share for both this thing. So there is different models. So there's used to be an MG model where whatever you sell, I get my rent. Now we're saying that we will partner with you in your sales. So it is in my interest that brands actually sell more, because they'll be able to, we'll be able to earn more. It's simple, this thing, economics.
But also I'm sure there is like brands like Zara, or if I'm a Uniqlo, I get a pull as well. Because of me, people come to the mall. Mall also says, because I'm the ambience mall, I always have the pull. So there is a very interesting dynamics of both sides. I'm sure the negotiation must be very interesting when it's a big brand in the play. How do you define a mall today? Is it a destination plus experience plus platform? And how the time spent, food, entertainment, events, all of that. So what defines a successful mall?
Great question. I think you've hit a couple of nails, and you've stolen a bit of my thunder in a few words, because you said something like time spent. I think what's probably evolved the most for me as a marketer is we used to always talk about share of wallet. Okay.
Okay.
And that's how brands used to say that I want
Correct.
share of wallet, share of wallet,
Correct.
share of wallet. Today, I feel in a attention deficit world, we are actually looking for share of time. And a successful mall, in my opinion, is where a consumer doesn't get bored.
Okay.
Okay. So I want a consumer to come into the mall, maybe with an agenda or without any agenda, be able to come and do impulse shopping for whatever they see in the mall, spend time with their loved ones in a safe environment, in a hassle-free environment, smooth parking, get into the thing,
Frictionless.
frictionless, want to eat something, able to easily navigate, go to a place, eat food, find something interesting, shop over there. Kids want to play something in an entertainment zone, and then maybe finally catch a movie. So 5-6 hours of their time in the day is spent, and they have a great memory to go back to. They post stuff on
There's a
social
high
media.
aspiration, 5-6 hours.
It's not. I mean, today, because of the traffic and all the
Yeah, yeah.
issues, the mall, I mean, the decision to go and spend your weekend time in a mall is a slightly more
Yeah.
this thing. It's not a let's just go to the mall kind of thing unless
Yeah.
you live right next door. So we've seen dwell times are increasing primarily because of the traffic. So people are not looking at 3 places to go on a Saturday. They said, I'll go to one place
Yeah.
and do everything that I want to do. I'll catch a movie, I'll eat some food, and I'll shop a bit. So that's why we're seeing these dwell times kind of increasing over the last few years. And in my opinion, a good mall, like you said, is one where my consumer doesn't get bored for those whatever number of hours that they're spending.
And I can, because I live in Dubai and Riyadh, you've been there, like Dubai Mall.
Yeah.
You could do your whole exercise routine, amount of steps you can get. I can
correct.
train for marathon running in Dubai Mall every day and cover the whole mall would be an achievement. From the great cinema to great experience to aquarium to all of that. Do you see the quality of malls here also improving like that? That big experience, mega malls coming and creating those. Well, that's a bar very well set in Dubai. You've seen, right? And of course, I've been to Ambience Mall, great mall here, all these places. How do you see that happening?
Okay, I mean, I've lived in Dubai for 5 years, so I kind of
And travel across
And
Qatar
traveled across,
and
yeah.
Riyadh, and you were managing all those geographies,
Yeah.
Doha malls and everywhere else.
Yeah. I think the Middle East is in a different product life cycle stage when it comes to malls. India is getting there. They're on that path. They're obviously few years behind. I think the Dubai malls have institutionalized premiumness, and they've institutionalized. India is still learning the game.
Okay.
All right. Given the infrastructure difficulties in Indian cities, I still feel that India will have multiple formats. Okay. If you look at what is known as destination malls, so malls which are maybe 2 million square feet and saying places where you can spend 5-6 hours and you won't get bored.
Yeah.
You won't be able to cover the whole mall. Something like a Dubai Mall. Dubai Mall is an extreme example, but I'm just saying these destination malls. Then you'll have your curated city center malls. So like a Saket or a Vasant Kunj. These are pockets of good population, and you'll have a mall within those things, and people in that catchment will visit it. Then you have something known as the hub malls or the office hub malls. So think of Cyber Hub. Right? So you have an
Fantastic
icosystem around it, and you have retail and shopping
great
in that
buzz.
Yeah,
Great buzz.
Absolutely. So Cyber Hub is has become an iconic landmark over the last years. So you have destination malls, you have city center malls, you have hubs, and then we've seen this emergence of something known as neighborhood plazas. So think of a catchment of residents, and they need their daily needs like a supermarket, a grocery, they need their salons and stuff like that. So you have a smaller, it's not a mall per se, that's why we call it a plaza, like an open format, it's not a closed this thing, but you have everything from your daily conveniences to a bit of shopping, to a bit of food, F&B. So we see these multiple formats existing in India and growing in India depending on where the catchment is. In Dubai, because of a seamless infrastructure and the way the city it's kind of being very carefully constructed, these destination malls are like the norm. And Dubai has this penchant for, putting money behind and trying to do the biggest and the largest. So for them, that works. And people are seeing that. But I also remember that after a point of time, you get saturated in Dubai Mall. You don't feel like going there because once the newness factor is done, then you would rather go to a functional, smaller mall rather than get lost in a
Yeah,
tastes like
now I
Dubai.
go when there's a tourist visit, somebody's come,
Exactly.
or I have to go to Kinokuniya for just that book
Okay.
to buy and all of that. Then it becomes a standard there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think even like Riyadh right now, that Nakheel Mall, the emergence of more mall, the Sunomis right now, the whole scene there is just getting bigger and better. Then the theme base, the football base, a lot of, I think there's innovation happening, big
Yeah.
part there in and more better.
Yeah.
The and how do you? I mean, just one thing. Uh, all this tech, AI, this happening in within malls, within footfall, trying to get your things. Do you guys use anything from a tech point of view?
Yeah, I mean, we have to, because that's where real consumer gold is. You know, it's in the data. Like I said, if we look at malls as purely as platforms between the brands and we don't have a direct relationship with the consumers, at some point of time you won't have a voice, or you won't know what to do with consumers. So today we have footfall data, we have parking data, so we know which cars are coming in because of the number plate recognition. We know which zones broadly the cars are coming in, how much time they're spending in our parking, therefore what is
Yeah.
the dwell time. We have sales of different categories and brands because we are on a revenue
Yeah.
share kind of thing. So we know what categories are doing well, what are not. So we are then able to tweak our marketing mix accordingly. So there is a lot of data that kind of is required in today's world, which was not there earlier. So if you had only a few malls, demand was more than supply. Now there is an equalization of demand and supply. So for a mall also to be appealing to brands, you also got to talk the
Yeah.
language, saying that, listen, we can help you get your numbers because of these reasons the mall is doing. So I think that's become like a hygiene that all malls have to deliver on the data bit. Yeah.
So one question, I think this is out of my curiosity, I've always wondered. You go pursuing brands, or brand comes looking for you? Who chase who in this equation?
Since it's Valentine's Day, I'll give you. Love happens both ways. There cannot be one-sided love. So I think it's both ways.
Yeah.
So we are constantly on the lookout for brands that are cool, who have a great consumer connect. So recently we've been hosting a lot of D2C brands into our malls. So brands like Snitch, who have never had an offline presence, are now in our malls. So while we also constantly look for those kind of brands coming into India, DLF becomes one of their first ports
especially
of call.
in NCR. Yeah.
Especially in NCR, that's correct. So they also seek us out and say that, listen, we want to sing. Like Apple recently opened its flagship store in one of our malls. So it was a question of them coming and saying that, listen, we want to open this kind of store. So like I said, love has to happen both ways, otherwise it's not going to work out.
How would malls would look like, let's say 10 years from now? What would change?
If you break down malls into different formats, like I said, there will be different formats for different cities and different catchments. So you will see an evolution of that. In my opinion, like I said, if the crux of the consumer is how do I spend my time, then malls will need to really curate themselves for not just shopping, not just food, not just entertainment, but a holistic offering for all of that. And if my objective is share of time, then I need to think of things. So malls in 10 years are going to be playgrounds for families to spend their time in. That's going to be the thing. Shopping is going to be a byproduct. Food is going to be a byproduct, but it's going to be more about how can I earn their time. I see F&B and food going up, experiences going up. Shopping and retail brands will reduce, but it'll become better and more sharper is what I feel. Today, it's a lot more skewed towards shopping and brands, but I feel that will slowly come down. The mix will change in the next 10 years.
And if you have to advise a brand, right? So at Channel Play, we are an execution business. We help companies do merchandise. We help companies provide sales teams. We do visual merchandising. We made store maintenance, right? Whole plethora of, so whatever, lot of your stores operate in the brand, we are their execution partner, right?
Correct.
We manage their lot of things which is happening in the store, right? From your signage to people to everything else. What should brand think from an execution perspective in current times? What's changing? They have to be. What should they do more of? For what guidance would you give as a brand? You are from the mall side. You are seeing a lot of trends happening on the ground. Any advice to the brand
in the India market?
India market,
okay.
Or we'll come to GCC as well.
All right. So I think India has always been a value conscious market, right? And what we're seeing now is a shift towards premium and bridge to luxury, right? I think what brands the advice I would give brands is that there is an Indian consumer that is willing to pay, but again, there needs to be value in that. So don't only focus on promotions and sales and that kind of stuff. Focus on the experience bit. Focus on giving them premium offerings which justify their thing. So I think what is probably underrated in India today is the quality of staff and the experience that we have. I've seen a totally different experience when you go to a Dubai store, the retail staff, the knowledge that they have, versus the staff in India. I think the staff in India is more transactional, and they've been taught on a slightly old playbook, which is for shadow the customer, stay with them, which I think needs to evolve. I think the Indian consumer today is looking for like a hands-off kind of experience rather than people being in your face. So I would want brands to kind of take a step back, allow the consumer to breathe, spend much more on staff training, the conversations, the understanding of the product, and those kind of things. Yeah,
It's very interesting to say that. We're right now working with one of the most premium alcohol beverage brand, right? And what we are doing for them is exactly what you just said.
okay.
They want the knowledge of the sales teams to be able to explain different beverages, different choice of drink to different customer. And we have put a whole training material and deck through our tech platform, offline, online training, and then, for example, understand what exactly cognac is, from where it originated, from the wine to distillation to this, the whole stage,
Right.
and have the knowledge conversation
Yeah.
with the customer. And similarly, for a very reputed footwear brand from Germany, not Adidas, to about the same thing. I think there's lot of organizations realize the importance of it, and I think that's where Channel Play also comes in. We work with the companies to do and deliver that. So now India market, you're 5 years in GCC.
Right.
Why don't you first simplify difference between the two markets? If you are a brand operating in the malls, you have seen, what are the fundamental difference between two market if you look at consumer behavior differences? And just if you were to give a layman definition that, if you're operating in both the markets, GCC works this way, India works this way.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
broad question. Sorry.
Yeah, I know it's a very broad question. It's different. I mean, I can't give such a stark difference between the two brands. They're not the two places, because they're not so different, but there's varying degrees of differences, and I'll try and articulate that. I think India, like I said, even though it's moving towards premium and bridge to luxury, is still a value conscious consumer. The consumer values price offs, values the brand value proposition that you're able to offer them. Indians have a lot of patience and they give brands a lot of benefit of the doubt. In the UAE, you don't see that. In India, if you see a queue outside a store, the Indian mindset is that, oh wow, that brand is doing well. In GCC, if you see a queue outside a store, it's like something's wrong. They've fucked up somewhere in their operations. So it's a very different kind of mindset that operates in both markets. In India, the consumer is very vocal if they're not getting great service, and they'll make their displeasure be heard. In GCC, the consumer is silent and never come back to your store again.
Okay.
That's kind of this thing. You never come to know so you just realize your sale numbers are dropping because they just refuse to come back to your stores. So those kind of subtle differences are there. And like I said, I think India is on the life cycle of retail. India is slightly on the growth part, while GCC is on the maturity path. So the experience and the staff bit over the GCC is at a really good level, which India is still trying to catch up on. So for me, the consumer, I mean, broadly, these are the consumer differences. Yeah.
So if I'm an Indian brand looking to enter either Saudi or UAE, they come to you for advice that we are going to, what should be our entry strategy into the market. What would you advise them? How would you advise them? what are the 2, 3, 4 points they should prep themselves before thinking of GCC market?
I mean, from experience, what I've seen is that brands that want to enter the GCC, they classic mistake. What works in India will not work in GCC. I think what works in India, if you look at a product company, is variety, and you take that same variety, it's an overload in the GCC. You cannot offer the same offerings that you have in India. People love variety. In GCC, you have to be extremely curated with your offering. I remember in Adi, we had, let's say, 1,000 styles being ranged in India. You would only have about 600 or 500 of those styles being ranged. You need more depth in them. So you give the consumer fewer but a depth in the thing. That's probably step number one. Step number two, I think, from a marketing and communication point of view, you need to incorporate local culture and local storytelling. In Adidas, I remember the campaigns that did the best for us was where we used Arabic influencers, we used Arabic iconography, we partnered with Arabic designers and created things which were very city specific. Like I remember we did this collaboration with the Dubai Tourism Board, and we got them to have their logos on some of our t-shirts, and those sold out like hotcakes. The Ravi thing was another thing. Like
Adidas Ravi shoes, that was such a hit.
Insane.
Loved by everybody.
Exactly. So
such a hit to the local culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was again a great example of what Global didn't want to do, which was little this thing, because it was a hole in the wall restaurant, right? But it was such a cultural icon.
And everybody knows Ravi.
Exactly. So the minute you are able to tell a local story, which immediately connects with consumers, that limited edition shoe just sold out in a day. And then they were put up on the secondary market at 100% premium and stuff like that. So I think storytelling in local thing is a key. I think Dubai is also the GCC is very compliance heavy.
Correct.
Like in
very
India,
well said.
Jugaad is is the norm, right? You can get your way through a local thing. So if you have that same mindset in the GCC, that's not going to work. You will run into issues. So you got to go very, very clearly with a local. I think a local partner is a must in the GCC because they understand the lay of the land. They'll be able to smoothen out a lot of operational issues. I think compliance for me.
Think channel play. Yeah, please.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, brand plug unintentionally, but sure. And I think the logistics also is another thing. The cost structures. If you look at India, logistics and people are very, very low. If you assume the same thing it's going to kill you. Yeah. I mean, e-commerce companies have realized that, that logistics in the UAE and GCC is a different ball game. People cost is another different thing. So replicating your cost structures over there is obviously something that you can't think. So these are the few pitfalls.
Yeah, like having a resource who is not on your visa and working in the store can put you by 50,000 dirham fine, right? It's just the non-compliance is expensive.
Yeah.
And there's no two-way around it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Once the audit is done and you get inspection, and then you have to align. There's no second thoughts about it or any sideways around it, right?
That's correct.
And if reverse advice, I mean, let's say today what is happening? India, high growth.
Yes.
KSA, high growth.
Yep.
Right? Both countries, GDP growth, high consumer spending,
doing
well. I think any global brand has these two countries in the map for the growth, right?
That's correct.
A lot of Indian companies we have been talking to who's looking at entry into Saudi Arabia. We're having great chats. How do we help them retail? How do we help them execute? How do we find them distributor? How do we... and we're consulting, and we're also doing the execution on the ground for some brands.
Okay.
And now we're also seeing some conversation happening in KSA brand wanting to come to India. So one large big date brand is talking to us about their large execution within India. So if same thing you have to advise to a big brand in KSA who's looking at entry into India market. You talked about value, you talked about have long queues outside, create queues for attention. What else?
Yeah, apart from those two obvious things, I think value is to get the pricing and the value proposition right. That's key. I think India is all about scale with speed.
Yeah.
If you are able to scale up and you're able to do it fast, because it's still on that high growth market. There is demand greater than supply, in my opinion, in a lot of categories. if you're able to tap into those right pockets and right gaps, I think growth will happen. And then it's a question of how quickly you're able to scale up. I remember Adidas 10 years ago had, let's say, 100 stores. Now they're at 1,000 stores. So that's a network that's already built and put into place. So any brand that it wants to come in India, my first thing was, why weren't you here 5 years ago? But still, it's never too late. Get in now and then scale up with speed. That's right now, you got to take advantage of that growth in GDP, growth in disposable income, the demographics of this country. People want to spend, they need avenues to spend. So just expand as quickly as possible would be my advice.
So you talked about in store, for example, even in GCC or here, promoter, quality of people, they should have more depth in conversation than just sell, be more value led, knowledge led. How about visual merchandising, like this whole stores, banners, lighting? There's a lot of VM happens around the stores. Is that changing? Do people do more of it, less of it? Too much of on the face, less? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think visual merchandising, what started off, I remember in Addy, visual merchandising was very basic in India. It was all about just a few 4 feet by 12 feet racks and just putting merchandise up based on a certain planogram.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to be the plug and play model that used to be
Planogram is
used.
the word?
Yeah, planogram used to be there. And it was literally copy paste, right? There was not much of art involved. It was just a sign.
This is the picture of success, execute it.
Exactly. It works to a certain degree. But then what at least some of the premium brands have shown us is that if you are able to curate your store to the local catchment and the storytelling is done not in just a scientific way, the art also comes into play. That's when brands really start performing well. So today, I think we are seeing companies are investing a lot into visual merchandising. A Zara store in Noida is very different from a Zara store in a Vasant Kunj.
True.
From a product perspective, from a display perspective, from the way the mannequins are, male, female mannequins, everything. So I think the companies also have got into a lot more depth with respect to visual merchandising. It's not a copy and paste anymore. They get into granularity of catchment, previous historical sales, where do they want to see things to, and then, therefore you will not see too many similarities between stores if it's done well.
And I think in India, it has such a large depth and size of the market, right? Like we do visual merchandising for some of the large brands across India. Now they want a rollout done in 2,000 cities of the offer.
Wow.
Then you want the vernacular to be done in Kannadiga, in Tamil, in this. So make material, execute material. Then we have seasonality. There's a Holi offer coming, and there's a Diwali offer coming, there's a Mahashivratri coming. There's always something at play. And I think today what we have seen is the role of tech. That like we have one channel tech, so making sure that client gets complete visibility, but at the same time execution is done right on time. But I think sometimes some brands, like they don't plan enough, and we always see a lot of time rush. We get a last minute call sometimes saying, oh, now this is coming and we need to get it done. We're able to pull it off largely, but I think the planning can be better in a lot of brands. But whoever does, I think VM is evolving so much with this digital signage and a variety of things coming up, and it's only going to get better and better. GCC market, India market, speed, execution, mall experience, all of that is changing. What is one bold prediction about malls in 10 years? What is one big thing will change?
I think 10 years is probably too short a time for things to change completely. I think we'll see, like I said, it's going to be the mall is going to be a theater for you to showcase how a consumer can spend their time. So I see the mixes changing based on that. So I see food and beverage, entertainment becoming a lot more important, a lot more resonating with consumers, and retail and shopping coming down a bit, but a few better brands kind of this thing. So that's where I think probably will happen. In India, I think will also follow a bit of the innovation cycle. If you look at the Dubai malls, they always have one showpiece entertainment this thing in their mall. So whether it's the Ski Dubai in Mall of Emirates, or you have that roller coaster in the Dubai Hills Mall, I think India has not yet caught on to that bit because real estate is still a little scarce. But I think tomorrow probably the the better malls which have a creative hook that becomes what that mall is known for, that could also be a trend that happens in the future.
One advice to retail leaders with all AI, tech, everything in play right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give?
My advice would be at a very global level. Don't look at consumers' share of wallet. Look at consumer share of time. A mall today will be competing not with other markets but with Netflixes, with your streaming platforms, with your books, etc. You're in the race of getting time from the consumer. So if you turn your axis of attention from wallet and money and transactions to time, I think that's where you can potentially look at a lot more marketing opportunities.
Thank you very much for your time. Honest, practical, incredible insights, and as always, fun talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Abbas. Thanks. Enjoyed being here. Thank you.
Lovely.